Hi everyone and happy Thursday. We have a key question arising from yesterday's walk around of the car. Where has the pink dinosaur gone? Well, not to worry, Emerald's alive and well and been domesticated for the off season. She actually normally lives in the house, but she won't let me take the car on track days or to race meetings without her because she thinks I don't know how to do it without her. Following that, a bit of history actually, so this is nice. Did you purchase the BMW for track days or racing, or was it something you'd already got? No, I didn't already have it. I was working at Nissan Technical Centre Europe in Cranfield in 2014, and they started up a sprint series with a hire circuits and just run informal solo timed runs. I thought, oh, that sounds quite good. So I signed up for the first one, which was then in around 4 weeks' time, and thought, I should probably have a suitable car for it. I had at the time another BMW, a 328, the E46 generation. It was too nice a road car to go stripping out for circuit use. I ummed and ahed about trying to turn it into something that could do road and track, or about selling it and buying an M3 or a Honda S2000 or something like that. But in the end it made more sense to buy another car that could be a dedicated track day car and then keep my road car solely for that, to keep it nice. So flailing around in the classifieds for a bit, around 2.5 weeks before the event, I found the E36 for sale and actually recognised it in the ads. I saw the picture and thought, I'm sure I know that from somewhere. I knew it from James's Pistonheads ownership thread. So that was a nice sign. I thought, okay, this is from a like-minded person, and sure enough, it had been used on circuit the weekend before I bought it. James handed me a broken fog lamp that had fallen out when he'd hit a cone at Blyton Park. Sorry, not as advertised, not quite. Which is probably worth the 50 quid I knocked off the asking price. What made you choose 750 Motor Club? Had you already been following their racing? No, not at all actually. I bought the car, as I say, for a sprint meeting, and then did a few of those, did a few track days, and it was only 3 seasons later, end of 2016, that I thought I'd like to go racing with it. It's no exaggeration to say that 750 Motor Club is part of the reason I was able to go racing at all, that I felt I could. I did research into who was running meetings around the country, and apart from just the website being the simplest and most accessible, and the championships looking like they'd suit my car, when I got in touch with them by email originally with James Winstanley and Giles Groombridge, the amount of information and assurance almost that was forthcoming was brilliant. I met them at the Autosport show the following January, and also met Neil MacDonald, who went on to build the roll cage for my car, as well as fitting fire extinguisher harnesses, all the sort of things that we saw yesterday to convert it into a racing car. It all felt a lot more achievable and certainly a lot more welcoming with that team of people. And yeah, the championship suited perfectly because road sports, the one we started out in, has a really nice open set of rules, and running power to weight classes suits my car quite well because the engine is a 2.8 litre engine, nice and flexible and plenty of torque, but it's not that high revving, it doesn't produce that much specific output, it's only 200 horsepower, which isn't a lot for an engine that size, and a lot of championships run capacity classes. If I was racing against 3 litre cars, performance cars, I'd be in deep trouble, whereas here we run power to weight, so there's no need to have an overstressed engine. It helps reliability, helps keep running costs down. Suited perfectly, I thought. What's the best modification you've done to the car since you first raced it? Since first racing it, this is interesting. I'm going to cheat a bit and put 3 together. I think the biggest change that I ever achieved with this car was in 2017, towards the end of the first season of racing, just before Rockingham. Changed the driver's seat, which was a Cobra Monaco, which is a steel frame seat that is a race seat, but it's not the most supportive, it's not the most comfortable thing to sit in. It was cheap, which was a priority at the time. Swapped that out for an Evo Pro, the one we saw in the car yesterday, which is a fiberglass shell but much higher sides, much more a much tighter fit to me, and left me feeling very thoroughly locked into the seat. I also changed the brake pads from reasonable track day ones into full endurance racing pads, those Performance Friction 08 compounds, and changed the diff as well, from an M3 diff that was a 3.15 ratio to a modified one out of another race car that had been broken from parts, Brian Love's car, was 3.91, so it was a full 25% shorter, but also a much more aggressive setup, a much stronger locking diff. All of those changes together, I went out the circuit at Rockingham on a track day before that race, and the car just felt phenomenal. It was absolutely transformed. I couldn't get over it. Everything about it, from getting to the end of the straight, and those who know Rockingham, you're up on banking, right up at the top of fifth gear, about 120 mile an hour, I think, in my car. And you hit the brakes for a really big stop into turn one, and the way the car was just hanging me off the harnesses with this massive power from the brakes, turn it in and feel conscious that my body isn't moving. The car just feels like it's one single mass because this seat has got me so tightly wedged. And as soon as I started to put the power down, the rear end of the car just felt totally alive, and like I had so much flexibility in what angle I wanted on the way out. The drive was being put down with no drama whatsoever, and the gearing was so short and so snappy, and it just has the revs coming around so quickly. Oh, it was fabulous. It felt, for the first time in truth, it felt like a racing car, and I was just beaming. Normally when I drive the car, I come out of it with a list of things I'd like to change, stuff I'd like to do. There's always more and more and more to follow. But that time, I just got out of it, threw the keys to Jesus, go and drive that. You're gonna love it. It felt awesome. So that, I think, best thing I've done since I started racing. Get yourself wedged in, get confidence in the stopping power and confidence in the feel of putting the power down. It transformed it, and it still feels like that now, actually, every time I go out. Wonderful. That's it for today. Thanks a lot, guys. If you've got anything else you want to ask, please do, and I'll put it up tomorrow. Cheers.